Welcome back, everybody, to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. Today, I am with Bobby. Bobby, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How
Yeah,
are you?
where are you calling from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. I like Phoenix.
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
just
it's a
out
beautiful
there
spot.
like a month and a half ago. It was just there.
I actually just came out here to visit some grandparents, and with my line of work, I was noticing all the HVAC vans driving up and down the streets, and I ended up staying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how long you been there?
since 2014.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
You've been there for a minute. Yeah.
yeah. Actually, all my parents grew up out here, and I guess I was the second born in Indiana, but my older siblings were all born out here, so I kind of got roots out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Phoenix? Oh, you said you're near the airport. You said
Well, I actually
the Phoenix
stay.
airport.
Well, that's Sky Harbor. I actually stay in Casa Grande, so I'm actually in between Phoenix and Tucson, in that big vast desert in between Phoenix and Tucson.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I claim Phoenix on all my social media posts and everything like that. So
I like Phoenix. I think Phoenix is crazy when you fly in and you actually get into Phoenix. I think it's nuts that you can stand anywhere in Phoenix and do a complete 360 and you'll see the whole mountain range around you. It's
yeah, yeah,
gorgeous. Like I've never been somewhere like you're sitting in a crater pretty much.
yeah,
And it's
yeah. It's a big bowl.
yeah, it's crazy. It's beautiful.
It's
But
hard to get lost out here and lose your direction because you always got the mountains to help
yeah,
keep your bearing.
yeah. Yeah, we went uh we went out like a month and a half ago. We went there. And then before that, we've been out a couple times the last couple of years. And we did go to Route 66.
Okay.
That was pretty cool. We went to Flagstaff. That's where it was.
Okay.
That was a good time. It was
Yeah, yeah.
crazy that we left Phoenix and it was like 115 degrees outside, and when we got to Flagstaff, it was like 70, like 8. And I was like, "Oh my god, like the change in the temp in a couple hours, it was awesome."
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what we do when it gets, summer triple digits.
Yeah.
We head out of the valley. We either stay indoors until nighttime or we, head up north to escape the heat.
Yeah, it's hot out there. Well, it is hot, but it's not like here in Florida, the humidity is what kills you. It's so
I
thick, it's
I
so
know it
dense.
well. I know it well. Actually
So
spent 16 years in Florida.
yeah, and then you go to Arizona, and it's completely different. It's like you can actually walk around in the heat and be like, it's hot, but I'm not dying. I don't feel like I'm gonna keel over and hit the ground.
Yeah, the dry heat, everybody's like, "Oh, it's a dry heat," and it does make a difference. I mean, even when it's triple digits outside, you can, go into the shade and cool down. Even when it's, 115, 120 degrees, believe it or not, you can cool down in the shade.
Yeah, I like Arizona. Hopefully, we'll be coming. If everything works out, we'll be coming back out shortly.
Oh, when you come out, I will host you and we'll take you to the places that the tourists don't go.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. So, all right. So, tell me what you do.
So I primarily do HVAC. I work for Spectrum Mechanical. I'm a service manager. Spectrum is a subsidiary of HB Mechanical Group, and I've played a lot of roles at the company: project manager, superintendent, foreman, installer, parts runner. But my official title is service manager. So I have a group of techs and the service department. When I started at Spectrum in 2014, I got hired on with the service department, and through the years, the service department dissolved, and we're recently booting it back up. So I have this huge goal of starting that department and building customer base and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been very intense for the past couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though,
But
man.
dude, service managers, they sit in the office, they count beans, and I am a blue collar worker. I come from the field. Um, so
A little
that's
hard to
where
stay that
my
often.
yeah, that's where my heart is. So any don't tell the boss this, but any opportunity I get, man, I'm running out of the office. You need me to run parts? I'll get you parts.
Yeah, being in that office too long, especially coming from working in the field all the time, too boring.
Yeah, I have a hard
Not
time
good
sitting
for that.
still.
Yeah, want to go do something. I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been doing HVAC?
Oh boy. I started, man, I would say 1998 is I got a job as a trailer repair mechanic at a company, and the trailers were reefer trailers. So I was able to uh, work on the trailers, fix the lights, do some welding, change the tires, but I had no idea how the reefer side of the trailer worked. And they had these little four-cylinder diesel engines that ran a multinator, is what they called it. But that the multinator generated the power for the reefer unit. And so I would even dabble in the diesel engine side of it, but once it came to the reefer, man, I was like lost. And my buddy talked me into going and visiting a trade school, doing like a tour.
Yeah,
And when I by the time I walked out of the tour, I was signed up. Like they were just like, here's a pen and pad, sign up. We'll get you funding. We'll take care of everything. And yeah, so I went to trade school. As soon as I got out of trade school, I ended up moving to Florida, Central Florida, Orlando. Worked for one company out there for 16 years, and then I got screwed up on drugs and got the frick out of Florida and came to Arizona.
yeah, it happens a lot here in Florida.
Yeah,
Seen it quite a bit.
yeah.
That's
Well,
good that you get out quick.
yeah, well, I mean, it took me 7 years of drug use before I hit rock bottom and had to make a move or end up in jail or dead.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was making a paycheck. I was also scrapping, so I'd get cash money from the scrap every day. So either my paycheck or my scrap would go to paying the bills, and then the other one would go to supporting
yeah,
my habit. And so I was like a functioning addict.
yeah. I was a functioning alcoholic.
Mm,
Yeah, I've been sober for probably I would say 11 years now.
well, congratulations. Me and you
But
about the same time. We could about the same time.
yeah, same thing, man. I would be go to work, come home, crack a beer like right as I get through the door, and just start drinking. And I would drink
Uh,
like a 24 pack and be done. And if I wasn't at the like part of passing out or blacking out, it was like, hey, you know what? Let's go grab another case. And then wake
yeah,
up and go to work like nothing happened. And finally it just got so to the point, it was just so bad. That
yeah,
feeling you get of waking up and you're like, oh, like shit. And then my wife, that's before she was even my wife, she was like, listen, I think you need to stop. Dumped it all out, quit cold turkey, and never looked back. But man, was it hard to stop.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would
Yeah,
think alcohol or beer or whatever would definitely be harder to quit, in my opinion, because it's on every corner, it's at every
yeah,
gas station.
everywhere. Yeah,
Whereas I only had a select group of three
yeah.
or four individuals that I could get my stuff off of. So
Yeah, you're right. I guess never really thought of it that way. It is. It's
yeah,
everywhere you go.
yeah, I'm actually struggling to quit smoking right now. And one of my struggles is the gas station. It's the pitfall. I go there for the energy drinks. Gas is the last thing I go to the gas station for. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
That's so true though, because that's the blue collar. We pay the the light bills at the gas stations. Go in and grab
Definitely.
all your stuff, you know? But,
And
I've
actually,
never
that's a tactic I use to recruit help. Is find the blue collars at the gas station at the
Yeah.
Circle K. Do some pretty good networking there.
Yeah. I mean, that's where everybody goes right in the morning. Everybody lines up, gets everything they need, all their energy drinks, coffee.
Yep.
But quit smoking, I don't know how that is. I haven't smoked. I did quit. I tried to quit. It didn't work very well. Chewing.
Ooh, yeah.
And I tried to quit chewing with vaping because everybody's like, "Oh, do vaping, it'll help you quit chewing." So I was like, "You know what? I'll try it." Well, then I got hooked on vape, dude, and I couldn't get off of that. It was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And it
It's
finally I could feel it in my chest, and that's when I was like, "All right, it's like fucking up my lungs." So then I quit that and I went back to chewing and
hey, you dude.
that's it.
Everybody's got a vice, man. But that
Yeah.
vaping is, I don't like to say it's better or worse than the other, but vaping is such an efficient way of getting that nicotine into your system that I mean, I would think like right off the rip you'd be addicted.
Yeah, so uh I know an owner I know a woman who owns a smoke shop, and she was telling me how that the biggest reason it's so hard to get off of those and why you get hooked so easy is because they're made up of like 50% nicotine. Whereas
Hmm.
in cigarettes, you don't get that huge hit. So when you like you said, the first rip, you're like, "Oh, whoa." And then once you're hooked, bro, it's over. Like, to get off it was I had to, like, just throw everything out and not even look at a charger. It was like, "I don't wanna touch him. I don't wanna get next to him."
Right, right. No, you have to. It's a whole mindset shift. I
Yeah.
quit the drugs cold turkey, and
That's
one of the things that helped me was whenever I'd start, because it took me like 2 years after I had last used to really get over the crave, and I still get the crave, but it was intense, and the only way I did it was I would have to switch my mindset, like kind of like when you have to pee, don't think about yellow, don't think
yeah.
about flowing water. But the mindset change, it was difficult, but you just instead of thinking about the drugs, think about what's in front.
We can't hear you. Not yet. Nope. Mm-mm. Your AirPods probably kicked it off. No. Nope. We can wait. You figure it out. It happens all the time. This is the real life. It's not a big deal. Technology. Mm-mm. Did you get a phone call? No. Sometimes that happens, guys, when we get a
What
guest that
about
gets.
now?
Oh, there we go. We got him. We are back.
Hey.
What happened?
Dude, the ear pods are kind of old, and I thought I had them charged up and ready to go, but they're just like dying after 15 minutes. So I'm gonna have to keep switching. So I apologize.
No, not a problem. Yeah, we've had that happen a couple times. Different guests that they've wore their AirPods and they lose connection or they get a phone call. And when they get a phone call, it drops the connection to your computer, picks up your phone, and then just like you, they're like, I don't understand what's going on. It was because it's not linked.
Hey, if I was good at technology, I probably wouldn't be doing blue collar work. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. It is what it is. That's all right. So, how old are you? Are you married? And do you have any kids?
I will be 45 this year. I am not married. I do have a partner. I've been with her for 10 years.
Okay.
We both kind of feel the same about marriage. Like once you get married and you have that piece of paper with the state, everything changes. So it took me a long time to find a girl that has the mindset like I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no kids. I only got, my kids have fur. I got 3 dogs. I got an Australian cattle dog, my favorite. Don't tell anybody. I got a coon hound. He's about 120 pounds, just a massive dog.
Yeah.
And then I have the youngest is a shepherd pit bull mix, and he is the smartest dog. I mean, he's a good looking boy. He's got that shepherd face and the short hair like the pit bull. He's all black. He's a beautiful boy.
That's a crazy mix. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got he takes more after a shepherd because I've had pit bulls, in my life, and they're usually stubborn. They're smart, but they, because they're so stubborn and and he's the exact opposite of every pit bull. He's just extremely intelligent, like a shepherd. He looks like a shepherd, but his daddy was a full-blown pit bull.
Yeah, we've had pits. My last pit that we had to put down about 2 years ago. Extremely smart. Just an asshole. Like anything you want to do, he was like, no, we're doing it the way I want to do it. And all he did was butt heads with him, but he was a great dog. And now I have Lucy, who is a Belgian Malinois, and she is just incredible.
Yeah.
Super smart. She's a loving dog. She's protective. She's just great. It's definitely a change.
Now that you mentioned that, I remember seeing. I think I've commented on a couple of your posts, but yeah, Belgian Malinois, man, they're working dogs just like my cattle dogs. So I know that high strung energy they got.
Well, so she goes everywhere I go because she is training to be my service dog. So she's still in training, but everywhere I go, she goes. And I mean, it's crazy because she's only 8 months old. And just the way she handles herself, you're like, and people, oh my God, she's so well trained. I'm like, really? That's just her. Like, I've only done like a little training here and there with my trainer that I have. It's just, she's just incredible. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, she's just a good dog. And they're like, where'd you get her? And I always give her the breeder. I'm like, this is where I got her.
Oh, you actually got her from a breeder. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I got her. So I found a trainer before because my doctor told me I should get a service dog. He said it would really help you. You should probably do that.
Yeah, man's best friend.
So I ended up figuring out like, all right, what kind of dog do I want? And then I did all my research, and when I found the Belgian Malinois, which I already knew what the dog was, I didn't really know much about him. I was like, yeah, that's what I want. And then I found a trainer where I live, and he was like, what kind of dog are you looking for? I was like, I was thinking about a Belgian. He was like, oh, I got a breeder for you. He hooked me up with the breeder, and his family has been breeding Malinois forever. I'm actually going to get him on the podcast. But his dogs are just, the bloodline's incredible. Like I couldn't ask for a better dog, so I'm extremely happy. And I didn't pay a fortune for her, so.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. I was going to ask, but I didn't want to, be rude.
Yeah, she was not as much as I was looking down, even where I went, because she came from Tennessee.
Okay.
And here in Florida, I looked like South Florida, and to get one of those dogs it's crazy. I was like, no, I'm not paying that.
Yeah. They're service dogs. They're high in demand,
Yeah.
they're so intelligent
It's
that you could be
scary.
training them, bad habits and not even realize you're doing it.
It's
They're great
scary
dogs.
because she'll stare at you and you're like, what the fuck is going through her head? And she'll look like right through you, and it's like, whatever. I don't even want to know what you're thinking. Just go do something. But she's great. I'm happy with
No.
her.
Yeah, I'm a dog guy. I had dogs, lived in apartments pretty much my whole life, and I got out of the apartments because I didn't want to have another dog living in a cooped up apartment. And
Yeah.
I got my house, and I got acre and a third of land, and they just love it. They go ballistic out in the desert and just stirring up dust. They get real freaking dirty all the time.
I was gonna say, that's all there. When we went out there, I couldn't believe that how everyone's yards, from coming from Florida, where you can walk out and it's green everywhere. And then we went to Phoenix. This last time is when I really noticed it, because we went and we actually drove around and just explored. And we ended up getting up into this beautiful neighborhood that a lot of the houses were up on the mountain.
Okay.
You drive up into the mountain, and then there was all these houses, beautiful homes. But I was like, look at these like $1 million homes, and everywhere around the whole place is just rocks. There's no grass, there's no nothing. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of depressing. There's no green. I want to see the green. But you guys have the mountain range to look at, where here we just look at houses because
Right. Dude, man, it's a toss up because Florida had some amazing has amazing sunsets and sunrises.
Yeah.
And I've only lived in like the Midwest, then I moved to Florida, and now I'm out west. But the sunsets and the sunrises out here in Arizona are completely different than what I was used to in Florida. They're so beautiful in Florida. Well, they're freaking amazing here. I don't know if you're familiar with the Arizona flag, the state flag.
I'm not.
But the sunset, now I know where they got the flag from, is because the flag mirrors the sunsets. It's pretty cool. I like to, I'm a manly guy, but I do like to set up my camera and catch the sunrises and sunsets, and I post it every once in a while.
You could be manly and enjoy that. Okay. I'll tell you right now. Okay. And I never thought about this in my life. After being hurt and waking up in the hospital and spending just over 2 months in the hospital, in a amazing hospital, but in a shitty location in Miami, where you walk out of the hospital and it's just dirty. Everywhere you look, it's disgusting. Being in that hospital and then finally getting home and walking out on my back porch and looking at the grass, looking at the sky, watching the sunset, you really appreciate it afterwards. Where, and when I worked at 1 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I saw the sunrise and all that. I could care less. I could never even thought about it. Like, all right, yep, it's sun's coming up. Now I look at it and I'm like, it's a beautiful thing that we take for granted, just the small, tiny things. So I don't think that makes you less of a man. I think you should enjoy it.
No,
Definitely.
I think, well, that, in my opinion, you had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
Also, I think waking up from addiction is kind of like a near-death experience. But yeah, I definitely, since I've been sober, I definitely appreciate little things that I didn't even notice before. Like you said, could care less. The way flowers smell. Oh wait, I'm getting too soft. I'm getting too soft.
I was out picking flowers yesterday and just smelling each one. No, but you're right. I mean, and I think that definitely in the blue collar world, addiction is so big because I think we try to find an outlet for all the stress and a lot of mental stress, definitely through these jobs.
Right.
And what happens is you either pick up some sort of drug, alcohol, something of that sort, and then you get addicted and you become a zombie that's in that same routine, especially at work. And yeah, you lose track of life. Like you don't pay attention to anything. You're focused on drugs, alcohol, and work.
Mm-hmm.
So like you just said, when you come off that, it's like it opens your eyes. You're like, oh my god, I'm awake.
Right. Yeah,
But I think
definitely.
anybody that's watching this, if you are in the blue collar industry and you have an addiction, definitely reach out for help because definitely it's not safe. And
Yeah.
you need to be able to wake up and enjoy life. Don't be stuck in that groove.
Yeah, no, I'd be more than happy to, talk to somebody if they need it. Because I didn't have anybody to talk to about it or, tell me that I'm destroying my life. I grew up in a religious household, and all I knew about drugs is they were bad. Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
I never had somebody say like, "Hey, you're gonna fucking destroy your life or possibly lose your life and go to
Yeah.
jail." I didn't, and I grew up in the Dare era. You know, but yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
willing to talk to somebody. If they reached out, 100%.
Which
I
what
think it's a gift that I actually survived it, so I could, maybe share some of my experience and help people. But
do you want to tell everybody your social media handles? That way they can reach out to you if they need to.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's basically search blue collar code, and my face is going to pop up. But yeah, blue collar code on Instagram. I'm having issues with TikTok right now, Facebook, and then I'm also on YouTube. But I'm blue collar code uncut on YouTube. So I edit a lot of the videos for social media, whereas YouTube, it's just a raw dog video. I just push it out there, no edits. So if you want to see, there might be sections of the video where I'm just, working and not talking or narrating, and it's just uncut, unfiltered video.
That's good. It's life. That's the real
Yep.
deal.
Yep.
I think that's a thing that I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of blue collar men and women on social media that they put their jobs up and it doesn't explain how hard the jobs are. See a lot of people it makes it kind of look like blue collar, like, oh, that doesn't look too tough. Or that's not that hard. Because of so much is edited out where in the
Mhm.
real life that it's a lot harder than it looks on social media. You come out and try that trade and you're gonna be like, damn, this is not what I it's not what I saw. No, it's
Dude, some of my most popular videos are my fuck ups.
yeah.
Because it's real, it's authentic, and that I believe that's where social media is moving, is more of an authentic uh, POV versus the influencers and stuff, like the crazy influencers with these crazy edits and all this other
Yeah,
stuff. There,
no.
people are hungry for the authenticity.
Yeah, we really that's like the podcast. We don't like to edit anything because one, we want the real deal. If you're on here and like your phone fucked up, your headphones, it's what happens. It's real life. I don't need to cut that out. We jumped right back onto it. We're back in it. And
No, that's good. That's good. That's what people are hungry for.
yeah, and the podcast when we look for guests, we look for everyone. I don't look for, oh, you don't have 200,000 followers, I can't use you. I've had guys that I've reached out to like on TikTok, and I've had some awesome guests off TikTok. And then I always get the same question. Why did you reach out to me? Why me? Why not you? Well, I only have like 600 followers. But that doesn't mean shit. You could have a follower. I could care less. You're a blue collar man or a blue collar woman. You're out there doing your trade. I want to know about it. I want you
Yeah.
to be able to
Excellent.
voice what you do, talk about it, and share your story to the world. I think that the blue collar men and women should have a voice that needs to be heard, especially nowadays.
Oh, yeah, we're getting stronger. We're getting more popular. I didn't do it for fame. I do it because I was struggling finding people to hire good people, and that research led to finding out about all the people that are retiring, and there's not enough people coming into the trade. More are retiring than are coming in. So I started it to encourage the younger generations, to pick a trade and show people that it's not a grind. It's a lot of fun. I love my job. I have good days, I have bad days. That's life. It's every job. But I try to keep it upbeat and fun as much as I can.
I've said a bunch of times with other guests on here that I like to tell, and when I say this, I always get the same reaction from most guests, and they're all about it. Is the younger generation to not? I've learned and I've seen that a lot of the younger kids, because like you just said, that blue collar is becoming stronger, we're becoming more known. You see it a lot more than when we grew up. There was no social media, so you didn't see all these trades. You didn't see what all these guys are doing, and you didn't hear about the money they're making.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the younger generation now, they see it on social media and they're like, well, shit, I can go work on an oil rig and I can buy a house and a brand new truck that year. Well, yeah, you can. But just know when you go to work on that rig, you're going to work. You're going to work for that money. It ain't going to be easy, and you're going to get cussed out by people. It is going to be a shit show. So my thing is, don't chase the money. Find something you actually enjoy doing, and find that passion, find that pride in your job. Because then when you wake up to go to work, you're not like, man, I gotta go to work. You're like, all right, I'm gonna start my day. And
Yep.
once you do that, you'll find that love for it, and you're gonna get a good paycheck.
Yep.
Don't
Now, if
chase
you
the money,
chase
chase the dream.
that's a huge problem right now is there's no loyalty because the wage scale is just all over the freaking
Yeah.
place, at least here in Phoenix. So there's no loyalty. Like I get resumes on my desk that have, less than a year here, less than a year here, less than a year here. And I kind of skip those. I kind of like push them to the side because I'm looking for, show me 2 years, show me some tenure. Those are the guys I want because I am
Hank,
not going to hire a guy that bounces from job to job to job because it costs money to onboard people and we're at my company, we're employee owners. So we all have stock in the company. And so when we go to hire somebody or interview somebody, bring somebody on board, we're looking for somebody that wants to,
yeah.
make this career and be at this company for the rest of their lives.
I love that you said that because that's what I've definitely preached it. Don't chase the money, find, something you love. But don't chase that money because that's the problem is that the younger guys are going out there, they're all right, I'm gonna get on this oil rig, and then they can't cut it. And then they either get fired or they quit, and then they go do something different. And then they can't cut that because I didn't realize this is what the job takes. Fired, quit. And then like you just said, your resume looks like trash. Because when you look at it, you're like, oh, well, you quit here, fired here, fired here, fired here. You're not worth it. Yeah, you could be a great worker, but if you ain't loyal to the company, they're not going to want you.
I'll tell you what, if you love what you do and it's not about money, you never have to fill out a resume because people will notice it, they'll seek
Yep.
you out, and you'll have opportunity after opportunity land in your lap. So yeah, the
Absolutely.
money's bad. The money's bad. It'll come. The money's gonna come. You just
Yeah.
gotta, appreciate the job, appreciate the work you do, enjoy it. I love it. Working with my hands. I mean, I learn by doing. So reading books and sitting in class, that's a little tough for me. And I will learn things in there, but if you really want me something to stick, put the freaking thing in front of me and
Yeah.
let me start
Hands-on.
tinkering with it.
So in your family, was any of your other family members blue collar? Do you come from that line?
Um, yeah. My dad was a manager at a commercial auto body shop,
Okay.
um, and I think that's where I got a lot of it. Um, you know, I learned that it wasn't necessarily a bad thing to not have my dad around for 8 hours a day. He taught me that there's value in a hard day's work. You know, you go out there and you bust your balls and you're exhausted at the end of the day. I'd much rather do that than sit in an office behind a desk typing on a computer. Um,
Absolutely.
I would, I would, I wish that I could stay as physical and continue on my career working in the field. But I also know that, you know, there's a time limit to being able to physically work
Yeah.
in the field. And so I made a choice to grow and get more knowledge and move into the office, step outside my comfort zone, and basically trade the physical stress for the mental stress. But yeah, I got some blue collars in my family.
Yeah, that's where. So we have an apparel company called Arcingahead, puns intended. On our slogan is blue collar blood type, and that's because it's either in your blood or it's not, and you're either going to be cut out for it or you ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
It usually comes with a family member. You know, I've only talked to a couple people that are like, no, I've had no blue collar in my family. It's something I just wanted to get into. And some people can do it. Some people can go from that and be nothing blue collar, know nothing about it, jump into a trade and absolutely love it. And that is awesome. But a majority, somebody is blue collar in their family and that's just passed down.
It's in the blood. Yep.
It's in the blood. But speaking of our apparel, I have something to show you. 2
Oh
seconds.
boy.
Let me see. I know it's up here somewhere. So here is our HVAC shirt.
You got the mini on there. You got the yellow jackets on there. All right. All right. Awesome.
Blue collar blood type.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we have HVAC. We have up to 100 different trades right now on our apparel.
Really?
Yeah, I mean we have everything from onshore, offshore oil rigs, scrapyard, railroad, arborist, tower climber, welder, miner, windmills. I mean, when we started the company, we wanted to try to hit every trade that you don't see. You don't see on apparel. I mean, I have one for trash trucks, the garbage men. That
Nice.
I don't know where about how it is in Phoenix, but here I give it to the garbage men. You know, people are like, "Oh, that's a terrible job." Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, like 95% of the world's not cut out for it because them guys are wild. They're on the back of them trucks all day in this heat, throwing these fucking trash cans in, throwing whatever you put out, which I've seen people put out dressers. And these dudes are picking it up, putting these trucks with all the trash, all the nastiness, and they don't skip a beat, man. They are a completely different breed. They
Yeah,
are
they got that
wild.
grit.
Yeah,
grit.
definitely got that grit. But it's crazy. But
Dude, I'll hang off the back of a truck. I don't know about the smell, but I'll hang off the back of a truck. I'll do that cowboy
no,
shit.
dude, no. I don't want to deal with everybody else's trash. I couldn't do it. I don't think I would be able to.
No, I'm HVAC. I only do plumbing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I wasn't made. I ain't made out for plumbing, man. Because you take the P trap under your sink, and I mean it's your sink. It's your freaking gook down there, and I can't even stand my own gook.
I had a plumber on here. Shout out to Jeremy. Um, Amazing man. And we found him on TikTok. In one of his videos, he's down in a tank and he's writing and drawing on the walls with shit while he's making this video and talking. And I mean, he told us, he's like, I've done it so long that it don't even, it's like dirt. It don't bug
Yeah.
me. I don't bother me. I climb right under there, do what I have to do. And I'm like, how? I could never do it. But shout out to him. Jeremy was an awesome dude. And
Yeah.
it's crazy, like I said, though, but not everybody's trade is cut out for everyone. I mean, it's certain people, certain trades.
Yep. 10 years from now, that dude's probably going to be a millionaire.
Yeah. God, crazy, man.
Yep.
All right, Bobby, it was awesome having you on today. Is there any advice, anything you want to give to the younger generation or anyone looking to get into HVAC?
Oh man.
Hit us
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. You don't need to go to trade school. There's plenty of places, not necessarily maybe where you live, but places around the country, around the world, they don't care about your degree. Don't care if you go to trade school. They want somebody, they're looking for people that want to be in the trade, want to learn the trade. So stay hungry. And I don't care if you're 20 years in the freaking trade, stay humble because you'll never stop learning. And if you don't have that learning mindset, that hunger, the trade will pass you by. So stay hungry, stay humble, and you don't have to go to school.
I do want to touch on that because earlier you said something that I heard it, but I didn't get into it with you on there. Is that you just said right now, you said even if you're in it 20 years, there's always more to learn. And earlier you said that a lot of the older guys are retiring.
Mm-hmm.
And I say a lot that those older guys are the ones that you want to learn from. So the younger generation that's getting in there, if you have the ability to take the time and learn from one of them old school guys, do it now. Because once they're retired and gone, we're at that point now that this generation, all the old school guys are going to be retired and there's not going to be any of them anymore. So you're going to lose a lot of the tricks of the trades unless they're being passed down. So please learn from the older guys, learn everything you can. Like you said, Bobby, you can never learn too much. There's always something.
Yep. Now I was actually a lot of the guys that I worked under were boomers, and when they're cussing at you and telling you to buy your own tools and saying you're a worthless piece of shit, that's their love language. And the stuff that I learned from them, you'll see me posting it in videos because I understand they're going to be gone too. So I want to share the stuff that I learned from them, pass it on down.
I love it. That's awesome. Yes. Capture it. Send it to the world. Let everybody learn from it.
It might not fit it might not fit society right now because we've moved past that portion of society, but I think that's the point is keep that old spirit alive.
I tell a lot of people that I've had a lot of people ask me, what's your advice about getting into trades? And one of the biggest things I tell them is you can't take everything to heart. We had a saying at the pit and it was leave your feelings at the gate because you are, like you said, you're going to get cussed out. And if you can't handle that, I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. But a lot of old school guys, yes, they're going to cuss you up and down. But if you just shut up and take it, you're going to earn their respect pretty quick. And then when you're asking for favors, they'll definitely help you out.
Yeah. When you work with a guy that cusses you out all the time that means he's putting in an effort.
Yes.
And if he's giving you the silent treatment, that's when you need to be worried.
Yeah. It means you don't want nothing to do with you.
Yep. That means they wrote you off. You're a goner.
Yeah. All right, Bobby. It was awesome having you on, man.
Yeah,
Definitely
dude.
honored.
I definitely appreciate the opportunity and anything I can do to help. If you want to talk some more or later on and you want to team up, just let me know. And
Yeah, maybe
definitely hit
next
me up
time.
when you come out here.
Maybe we'll do another episode if you're able to do one like out in the field.
Sure.
Yeah, if you could do something like that, like set up a tripod and you can talk if you want to teach guys or whatever you're doing and teach us. I'd love to do an episode like that. That'd be awesome. I think the viewers would enjoy it.
Yeah. I got some big work with some swamp coolers coming up late March, early April, and that's a dying art right now too. So
Okay, we'll set something up then.
yeah, heck yeah.
Hell
Dude,
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Also, if I come to Arizona shortly, I'll definitely hit you up.
Excellent. Please do.
All right, man. It was good having you on.
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right, bye.